a youth serving agency that does one thing. We provide out of school time programming that supports academic success, character and citizenship, and healthy lifestyles for kids. We used to say 5 and up, but now we say 4 and up because some kids, because of the registration date for Michigan City area schools, can actually start school at 4 now. So we'll get a couple of 4-year-olds, but mostly our kids are grade school age. Our membership is currently skewing a little younger just because of some of the age, the program changes we've made as a result of the pandemic. So we have 3 locations: Pine Club Extension, which is at Pine School, Springfield Club Extension is at Springfield School, and the Charles R. Westcott Club is our standalone site at the old Elston building. Right now, we're open to 3 to 6 after school. We open extended hours during the summer, and we've offered actually a ton of extended hours this year in response to the pandemic, which I'll be talking about a little later. One thing we're really proud of for this school year, we are now completely free. There's no longer a membership fee. There's no cost for programming. Everything that you see us offering on Facebook is completely free, no charge. The costs were always very nominal, but even when you talk about like a $10 membership fee, if you've got a person that has, 3 or 4 kids, potentially they're making the decision, especially during the pandemic, between a grocery bill or a program. We just don't want them to have to make that decision. We're here for the kids. We want the kids to be there, and we want to eliminate any possible barriers. So that's kind of the reason that we're pretty committed to staying free going forward. So as we know, 2020 changed everything. I came into this role with kind of an idea that, okay, we're going to keep doing this great after school programming, and then maybe, 6 months down the line, we'll see what we can tweak and improve. And obviously that's not what happened. So when I was last here, we were doing some virtual club. We were checking in with families by phone. We were passing out supplies, but our model is really based around a physical place. We are a safe place that's an option for kids when schools are not in session for whatever reason. So, in the summer when schools are done for the day, there's just a lot of kids that need another place to go where they're going to be engaging in positive activities. And that need was even greater with so many other camps being unable to offer, with schools having been closed from March through the end of the year. So we really, really wanted to get open. So we partnered with the health department. I came up with a super detailed reopening plan. It included all the things that have become really commonplace now, things like, okay, social distancing. We measured out radiuses. We drew X's on the floor in the hallways where kids would stand if they're waiting for the restroom. We built schedules with hand washing breaks. We sanitized all our surfaces. We stocked up on the right cleaning products. We limited our classrooms to about 1 to 9. We have a couple of rooms that are bigger and we can do larger ratios. We usually put those for our older members. And we reopened on June 1st, and the summer program went really, really well. Kids came in, they learned the new protocols. At that point, guidance around masks and things was still coming out and changing, and we just continued to adapt. And after we had a successful summer, Michigan City area schools made the decision not to reopen in person at the beginning of the school year. And so they approached us about partnering with them to create a what they called learning centers. We called clubs, but it was an extended day option for kids while school was operating virtually. So we initially went into the buildings at Pine and Springfield and our Westcott Club, enrolled kids. You would have kids grouped by age, but they're all in different classes. So you could have one classroom that might have 10 kids from 8 different schools and 10 different classes, and they would all come in, they would get their breakfast, they would attend e-learning. So you might literally have a kid doing jumping jacks for gym class next to a kid doing a reading assignment. They would take a break for lunch, they would e-learn in the afternoon, and then we would move into our club, kind of, homework help, physical fitness, things like that in the afternoon. And so we thought this was initially going to be for 8 weeks. Michigan City went back briefly, and just all school year, we've kind of, whatever they've done, we've changed to complement it. So we've had 2 different sessions of extended day. The second time we applied what we learned the first time, and I think it was even better. We did 2 stints of hybrid. When Michigan City was operating 3 days, but not the other 2, then we would operate 2 and then do after school the other 3. We're now in our second stint of after school programming, and obviously we're hoping this one's going to hold. But, if they have to close again for whatever reason, we'll figure it out. We will offer, again, temporary extended full-time positions to our staff. Michigan City has lent us some support staff to work at our club site. So they're actually being employed by Michigan City, but managed along with our club staff. And just, we still had a wait list, but we were able to accommodate a lot of kids through this program. I think at our peak, we had about 155 that were with us in the full day programming. So along with that, obviously we had to come up with some solutions to make sure that we have the staff that we need. And so in 2020, we also tried to get really creative. Nonprofits, a lot of times turnover is high. Wages can be low, but we did an across the board rate increase that has helped us really attract and retain staff. Our starting rate for youth serving positions like our program leaders is now $12 an hour, which is competitive for our industry. We do an employee referral bonus, which has been really helpful with bringing some people in the door. So, we're pretty well staffed now, which is great. Of course, with quarantines and things like that, at one point I was actually trying to run like 25% overstaff because you just never knew who was going to be gone for 2 weeks the next day. But for the most part, we've been very fortunate. Out of the whole time we've reopened from June 1st to present, I think we've had a total of 7 days of closures, and they weren't even all 3 sites at a time. It was like you might be closed for a couple of days over here, but not at the other 2. So we feel like that's a pretty good track record considering the extra layer of caution we have around COVID. So not quite everything has changed, and I never want to lose sight of the fact that the real stars of the story are our kids. You just wouldn't believe how resilient they are. I mean, they've got new rules, they've got new policies. These things for grown-ups and for kids can change from week to week. All of a sudden, they can't sit right next to their friends, they can't collaborate closely on a project, and it can be really tough, but they have had positive attitudes. They've been resilient. They've done a great job learning our new rules and regulations. And they're having a lot of fun. I mean, you can see a few of the pictures here. We did a socially distanced pumpkin patch. This was the year we said yes to the big, messy tie-dye project because that was something we could kind of space out and do safely. Lots of water balloons because there's no need to sanitize after that. They just finished at the Westcott Club a huge Black History Month project that really spanned about 6 weeks where they researched famous figures in history, and then they did a Zoom presentation about the display that they had created. So we're still able to do a lot of our core stuff. It just looks a little bit different. And I think as we move forward, it's just going to more and more return to what we, like to do, more of our core activities, more of our traditional after school programming. So what's next? To be honest, now that we're back to after school, and I think we're in like our 3rd week of being just after school, we actually are feeling like we have some bandwidth and we can look at the future. So we always want to continue to hit the programming hard. One of the things that differentiates us from other childcare services is that it's a very high emphasis on programs with measurable outcomes. So pre-test, post-test, kids don't even see them as tests necessarily. We're just surveying what they know and what they learn. We brought on somebody who's a curriculum specialist who is specifically focused on delivering like our STEM programming at a high quality, our smart resistance programming, and she will kind of rotate from program to program depending on what we want to be offering at that time. We are always looking to build capacity with the social distancing limitations and the way we have to do our cohorts. We just can't fit as many kids right now. So we're constantly looking at creative ways to fix that problem. And then we're figuring out what's next. In about a month, we will embark on our strategic planning process to plan for future expansion. We just finished a feasibility study and ultimately plan to move towards a capital campaign. But right now we don't know exactly what that expansion will look like. We want to continue to enhance our Michigan City services. We'd like to start serving other parts of the county. And right now it's kind of an exciting time because everything is on the table as a possibility. And then over the course of strategic planning, we'll be narrowing that down. If you're interested in what we're doing, there's a few easy ways you can help. We are active on social media under Boys and Girls Clubs of LaPorte County. You can spread the word, especially if you know people in areas that we aren't currently serving. You can tell them, Boys and Girls Club's a good organization. They have good outcomes for our kids in Michigan City, and just kind of help us pave the way. And right now we are in our annual campaign, and you can always donate to that. And this is just a little video that recaps some of the work we've done over the past year and talks at the end about annual campaign. So I'm going to hit play and let me know if you have any volume issues or anything, because I haven't done this through screen share before.
Michelle, if you go to the upper portion of your screen where it says audio and video,
Mhm.
if you click on that and click music mode, I think the audio will be better. If you can't do that, you can try doing a Control-Shift-M. That'll do the same thing. No, I'm afraid we can't hear it. You got to unmute your phone there, Michelle.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay. Are you okay with it if we go back to where it was and the audio quality is just not as good? Can you guys still hear the music to some extent?
Yes.
Okay. That's what we'll do then. And I'm going to cut it here. And basically, since you can't hear the audio perfectly, I'll just tell you this is just me, obviously, and telling the community that we have a $10,000 match going right now. So for the first $10,000 in gifts to our annual campaign, they will be matched by a donor. We kicked our campaign off a little early this year because we know we have increased funding needs because of some of the things we've talked about, extended day programming, lower ratios, and we're just trying to get the support we need to serve more kids. So I think we're at about 65 or 7,000 of that $10,000 match. So it's not too late to have your gift doubled, and you can make a gift at www.bgclpc.org. So that's pretty much what we've been up to. I would love to answer any questions you might have about our clubs or our programming or our plans for the future.
Okay, if you guys got any questions, just go ahead and fire them at Michelle. You can put them, you can either speak up or you can put them in the chat. Michelle, I have one. You say that you have after-school programs.
Mm-hmm.
Are those in the school themselves?
The Pine and Springfield programs are in the physical school, and so they serve students from those schools. And the Westcott Club is open to all students. So we get a lot of kids from Marsh because it's walkable. We also get, there's a bus service for some kids who go to the magnet schools, and so we get those. And then we have some parents that just transport their kids. So some of our kids actually attend private schools.
Okay.
Hi, Michelle. It's Kara. How are you?
Hi, good, thanks.
Good. I was wondering, do you guys ever foresee an expansion over to the LaPorte County School District at all?
Yes, and we did include in our feasibility study interviews Mark Francisconi, and so he's very much a part of the conversation. Yeah, we're talking to school and community partners. A lot of times when you expand to a new community as a Boys and Girls Club, that's where you start, just because you know, it doesn't do you any good to get a great club if it's not accessible to kids within like a safe walkable distance. So we'll definitely see what happens.
Michelle, just a comment. This is Debbie. Following through on the beginning of the pandemic, the shock of all of that, but then the reset. Boys and Girls Clubs got a big kudos and shout out for really working to make sure the kids were safe, making sure that the staff interacted safely. And I read about that nationally, actually. So great job from a great organization in really making sure that the virus was not spreading within Boys and Girls Clubs. So just kudos to you and your staff for being a part of that precautionary way of reopening.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We have worked very hard. I mean, I'll be honest, it was, you know, initially there just wasn't a lot of information. And so we brought in experts, which I think honestly was one of the best things that we did, because then I felt like we were offering science-based information to people going forward. But I can't say enough good things about Dr. Mock at Working Well came in and did training for our staff for that first summer program. And then for each site for that first round of school-based extended day programming. And he was just so good at explaining like, okay, yes, you know, you need to wear a mask, but this is why you need to wear a mask. And this is the science behind the social distancing. And okay, this is why you don't actually want to wear gloves, even though a lot of people were thinking that you wanted to wear gloves at that time. And so after, you know, he'd done his presentation a few times, we kind of built that into what we now use. We have basically, it's an hour or two crash course on COVID safety protocols. So every new staff that comes on sits down with either me or our director of operations and does that before they even get to like the club basics, you know, things like our normal protocols, no one-on-one contact with kids, walkie-talkie usage, things like that. So we just kind of built it into the curriculum, and we have had really good success with both our staff and our kids. And like a lot of it is, we've just been really fortunate. I mean, you can't always control, you know, what people do in their free time, and stuff is going to happen. But there's actually only this whole time, we've only had one situation where there was a case that required us to do contact tracing. And like, I consider that a pretty big win. And it didn't spread. So that's the important thing. Any other questions?
Oh. Is there someone else talking? Or is it just me? All right, so Michelle, this is Terry Waltz. Just a quick question. So I've got a niece and a stepsister who, what is the age group that you guys accept someone into the Boys and Girls Club?
So normally we would have groups for basically 4 to 18. Right now, because of the need for the daytime care, our groups are skewing younger. So I think we have groups for basically kindergarten through 6th grade, but we've actually been in conversations, and now that it seems like Michigan City is going to be able to remain in full day school, we are looking to open at least like a middle school group at Westcott, and then eventually remove back into high school. So when the models were switching back and forth, we couldn't add any groups that we couldn't then support if we went to extended day. But now I think we're looking more at our traditional after school programming. And then we're also hoping to add our extra hour, because we used to be open until 7 and serve dinner. And that was something, we were serving breakfast and lunch, and there just wasn't physically like enough room for all the food. So we're hoping to get back more to normal. So I'm not sure what grade they're in, but I think we're encouraging people definitely to register, even if they're not in that K to 6 age group right now. And then as we have interest, we will continue to add staff and add new groups.
And do you guys operate out of LaPorte City also?
Not yet.
Okay, so I got one niece who is 6, who is in LaPorte, and then I've got a 13-year-old stepsister in Michigan City there. So,
okay, great. Yeah, I'm physically in LaPorte. I live in LaPorte. So, I mean, I would love to see us be offering services over here at some point.
Okay, yeah, I think it would be a great opportunity for both of them. And I mean, especially now, I feel like the socializing isn't as great as it was. So being able to get them out there and start exploring and experiencing new things, I think it would be really good for them.
And that is something we observed really this summer. Kids had been home for a while, and you know, it impacts them. And these are hard times, and there's no good decisions. I mean, and no criticism to anybody that's decided that they had to close for a period of time. But like, just seeing my own daughter who attended our summer programming, because we live in LaPorte, but everybody's welcome to come in the summer. If you have a parent that can get you over there, you know, you can come. And so she attended, and just like the difference in her from the beginning of the summer to the end. I mean, she was like waking me up in the morning because she didn't want to miss a single second of camp. And it was just really good to see her that excited, after kind of a tough year when kids had suddenly had to leave school and not know they were saying goodbye to their school friends for the rest of the year. And I mean, she still asks about our staff and the friends that she met there. So I know that it's good for kids, and I know that the kids with us are making those connections and having a really good experience.
Awesome. And then, is there a cost from the parents to bring the
Nope.
child? Or
Nope.
Okay, and how do they sign up? How can we get in touch with them?
So to either the only site with space right now is Springfield, but then we keep a wait list. So to register or join the wait list, it's www.bgclpc, and it's under school year program at the top. We will be unleashing our summer registration probably at the end of this month, maybe early April, and that's just going to be like a rush because we would normally enroll about 250 kids. With the space limitations, I'm looking at like 80, which is really a bummer. I'm working with Michigan City area schools to see if maybe there's some additional like space that I can annex, because the model is scalable. Everybody can rotate into the game room, into the STEM room, take walks in the outside space. I just need more physical space, but I'd like it to be in the same building. So we're going to see what we can figure out.
Okay. And you said it was BPC?
BGC.
BGC, Boys Girls Club, LaPorte County. All right.
Yeah.
I'm just going to take that down so I can send
Yeah.
that. Hopefully we can get some involvement from them. So,
Yeah, that'd be great.
all right. Well, that finishes my question up. So thank you so much. I mean, great presentation. It was fantastic, Michelle.
Oh, thank you. Any other questions?
Anybody else?
Hey, Michelle, this is Lance Warner.
Hi, Lance.
How are you today?
Good.
I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about diversity and inclusion within the Boys and Girls Club and how that's important for overall student well-being.
We get asked about that a lot, and we are so fortunate because I think like the starting point is honestly having a staff that represents your community, which we do. And I take zero credit for that. Like, I think a lot of that just comes from being an organization that builds a reputation over time as being a good place that's welcoming for people to work. And so that's really where it starts. I mean, our staff are role models for our members. My daughter is African American, and like it was great to have her have group leaders this summer and connect with people who are also African American. So I think having a diverse staff is really important, but then we're just really intentional about including relevant topics in our programming. I mean, like I said, it was Black History Month for like 8 weeks at the Boys and Girls Club. And it was really great. Like the kids dove into that project and engaged with it on a really deep level and learned a ton. We also do a lot of programming that's just like geared towards people skills in general. We have SMART, which is our program that's our resistant skilled program, but it's also a lot about like relationship building and respect and things like that. So, I think it starts with the staff, and then that like matriculates through in the programming that you offer the kids. But it's an inclusive organization from the national level down, and so we take our cues from them as well.
Can you mention anything about, are there any volunteer opportunities for community members with the Boys and Girls Club?
We are just actually getting ready to reopen that. So with our COVID precautions, we were kind of hesitant on bringing additional people into the building, but we're getting to a point where we feel comfortable doing that at Westcott Center. We had one person who started, and it was pretty successful. And so if you'd like to volunteer, you can just reach out to me directly. My email address is mshirk@bgclubmc.org, but it's also on the website. And then we will send you a volunteer application. We do require a background screen, of course, and then we'll set up a phone conversation to talk more about your interests and what you're looking for. We can use people to do like one-on-one homework help. Our one volunteer that we do have is a friend of mine, and she just kind of likes to come and help with like the fun extras. Like she helped with the pumpkin patch. She the pumpkin painting that they did, like some of the more in-depth craft projects. And so usually people come like once a week for an hour. So that's something we're just kind of delving back into. If you would like to donate something that's not time or money, we always, always, always love donations of Lysol wipes and masks, of course, and Clorox disinfectant spray or Lysol disinfectant spray that's for like the air. That's actually probably still our hardest to find product. So if you're ever at a store and you see that and you think, oh, I'll just grab an extra for the Boys and Girls Club, I get super excited when I come home, and my friends in LaPorte, like I'll see them sitting outside my house, or people from Michigan City bring them to me at the club. So just keep an eye out for us if you're out and about.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I have a quick question. So, can you talk about some of the other partnerships that you have in the community aside from Michigan City Schools, which is an obvious one, but are you do partner with other like-minded groups or offerings for the students?
Yeah, this year looked a little different, obviously, because of COVID. So normally we are part of a collaborative and I was actually involved in this on the Y side because I used to be at the Y, and then on the Lubeznik Center side because I used to be at the Lubeznik Center. So there's a group of organizations, and it's a combination of places that provide group services for youth and places that kind of provide enrichment services. And so in normal times, like we would all have our, hundreds of kids for the summer, and then you would have a rotation of, okay, we're going to go swimming at the Y one day. We're going to get Lubeznik Center dance services one day. We're going to go out to PNW and do STEM enrichment one day, and then, so on and so forth. So we couldn't do some of that last summer. I think we'll be able to do some, but not all of it this summer. So the one thing we did resume was with Lubeznik Center. They did virtual art classes for us during our first round of extended day programming. And then she is on my summer schedule. They will be comfortable doing in-person either art or dance. I think we can do in a socially distanced format this summer. We've also been in talks with some other community partners about programming that would be beneficial to youth. So we're looking at maybe like some additional curriculum that's specifically geared towards tobacco cessation. There is another organization that provides carbon monoxide detectors and education that we've worked with in the past that we're looking at bringing back in this summer. So we definitely try to bring awesome things into the community. One thing I'd like to see us doing more of as things stabilize is guest speakers. We have a careers program that's virtual career exploration. I think it would be even better if we were bringing some physical people in, particularly people who have interesting or unusual jobs and things like that. And then I personally try to do a lot of work. I try to support our schools where I can. And so like, obviously we work very, very closely with MCAS, but I'm also involved with the parent advisory board for LaPorte schools. And I do student assessments for a program that they've had there for years and years, where people in the workforce like grade student presentations. So we try to be out and about. COVID was kind of like everybody closed in, and to the point that we still can't even let our parents into the building, and it makes me sad a little bit because we're losing some organic interaction opportunities. But I think as we move into the summer, we'll be able to kind of intentionally open some things back up and invite more people into our facility, and I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Michelle, thank you very much. I really enjoyed your discussion.
Oh, good. Thank you so much.
It gave me a lot more information about what Boys and Girls Clubs do. I'm a vice president in the Boy Scout Council.
Okay.
And so, we have a lot of things we do together, or common things that we do. Quick question I had for you is, would you be interested in, at some point in time, maybe coming out to the camp that we have just south of Michigan City, Camp Topanibi, and using that outdoor facility to do some of your program?
I would love to talk about that because it's come up that actually the more outdoor activities has come up a number of times. I'm like a big outdoor person. I mean, we are outside hiking every weekend. People that know me know this about me. And so I actually also had a conversation with my friend who's at Shirley Hines, which some of you may be familiar with. They own all the preserves, about like, how can we get these kids outside more? Because it's just so good for them. So yeah, I would love to have that conversation. At this point, obviously, our biggest constraint is not being able to put people on the bus. But that's not, we have a very tiny bus, even under normal circumstances. So I'm like, oh my gosh, we could fit 3 kids and make like 27 trips. But that's not going to be a forever problem. So yes, before all this even started, like my first couple weeks on the job, we were talking about more field trips and more outdoor space and things like that. And hopefully that will be a conversation we can resume soon.
Okay, well, I'll get a hold of you sometime soon.
Okay,
We'll see if we can
I'd
talk about
appreciate
it.
that.
All right. All right, fine. Well, again, thank you very much, Michelle. I enjoyed the conversation. I'm going to turn it over to Terry Volz right now, who is our Sarge for today, and see if he has a little program for us.
All right, so I do have some exciting questions. Hopefully the questions were good with the little breakout meetings, but a lot of the questions are also related to Rotary still. So a few of the questions, the one I'll start with is engineer and Rotarian Oscar George from the Rotary Club of Duluth, Minnesota, was annoyed at the inconsistency of a Rotary symbol, calling it an insult to engineering. What did Oscar fix on this symbol? Do you guys have any ideas of what was added or changed? I mean, of course, we know the gears, but any ideas?
No, unless it was the way the axle fit in the middle. I don't know.
It's close. So Oscar George standardized the rotary wheel with 6 spokes, 24 teeth, and a keyway. And the reason for this is because we are workers and not idlers as Rotarians. So I thought that was kind of a cool little piece. And this next one is actually one of my favorites that I found on the little questionnaire that I have. So what is the greatest distance from Chicago that a rotary pin has been displayed? Any ideas?
From Chicago to where again?
What is the greatest distance?
From Chicago to
Anywhere. So what is the greatest distance that we've had a rotary pin displayed from Chicago?
Approximately 4,000 miles.
Close, but no. All right, so astronaut Buzz Aldrin, an honorary Rotarian of the Rotary Club of Spring Lake in New Jersey, where his father was a member, planted a 4-way test pin on the moon when he landed Apollo 11.
wow.
Yep.
So 286,000 miles.
Is that how far? I'm not sure.
Roughly, that's how far it is to the moon. I was just thinking halfway around the world. I thought that would be an impressive distance. I didn't know we were going to go all the way, out to another planetary body.
Yep. So actually, there's another one that's I'm going to say it was space related too. What is the greatest distance again from Chicago that a Rotary Club banner has been displayed?
What is it? 175 miles straight up?
I'm not sure, but this one's also space related.
17,000 miles?
That could be close. It doesn't give me the actual distance, but it does say astronaut Frank Borman of the Rotary Club of Space Center in Houston took a club banner on his orbit around the moon in Apollo 8. So, I mean, it's kind of cool that we've already got a presence in space, especially as much stuff is to come in the future, with being in space. Rotary is already there. So,
maybe we can get a pin or a banner on the next Mars rover.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. We can reach out to Elon Musk. Maybe we can get up there with SpaceX or.
Sure.
So, all right. So this one's actually in Indiana, but during the Great Depression, the Rotary Club of Muncie, Indiana, helped launch the Muncie Plan. What was the Muncie Plan? Anyone have any ideas on what that would be? No? All right, so the Muncie Rotary Club promoted home improvement to boost sales at struggling hardware stores and reduce the 80% unemployment rate among construction workers and tradesmen. And this plan was actually very successful when it was launched. So here's another one that actually we're all very familiar with. So RILA. Where and when did RILA begin? So I have a feeling the date is going to be found. I have a feeling one of you knows the date, but Jim, I see you thinking. So you're muted, Jim. So
I thought it was in the 80s, but I'm not sure.
It's a little late. I'm going to say it's a little earlier than that. So the Rotary Youth Leadership Awards began in 1959 by Rotarians from Queensland, Australia. They organized a week-long conference for outstanding young people, and in 1971, the Rotary International Board officially adopted RILA as a youth program. So kind of a neat little thing there. And just to kind of change it up a little bit, so I did get a Jeep last year. I'm a huge Jeep fanatic now. So I wanted to add a little Jeep question in there for everyone. The 7 slots, does anyone own a Jeep, I guess, to start? Or am I the only one there? Okay, so there's 7 slots in the grill, and there's a big misconception as to why there's 7 slots in the grill of a Jeep. So does anybody know why there are 7 slots? I feel like Kara might have this one. Or was Debbie? Somebody was waving their hand. Nope, maybe that was a buy. Okay, so the popular thought as to why Jeep has 7 slots on the grill is that it was the first vehicle on 7 continents. But the real reason, I mean, this is just kind of a common misbelief. The real reason is back in, here, I've got the full answer here. So I don't have the year, but Jeep was actually the first vehicle. I gotta find my spot here. The real reason behind the 7-slotted grill design involved avoiding legal action for infringing on a Ford design. Jeeps were designed in response to a call from the U.S. military for concept cars for a reconnaissance vehicle. I can't say the word. Reconnaissance. I'm gonna let you guys take that one however you want. Vehicle. The American Bantam Car Company was the only company to produce the concept design in the short time frame requested. But the military had doubt about awarding the contract to the financially struggling company. Instead, it handed it over to the company's design to company's design to Willys Overland and Ford to produce their own concepts. Willys Overland created what would become the standard Jeep, but both company models were very similar since they were based on the same design from the American Bantam Car Company. Willys Overland modified the grille on its design to distinguish it from the 9-slot grille included on Ford's design. The new 7-slot grille was chosen to avoid any conflicts over copyright going forward. So I always thought it was because it was the first vehicle on 7 continents. So I thought that was kind of a cool little question or answer there. So those are my few questions. So hopefully they were good, and we can move on to good of the order if anyone has anything to announce. I did have 2 guests, but they had to log off early. So my girlfriend's at work, so she had to, she's a nurse, so I think they needed her. So, but if anyone does have anything good of the order, we'd like to hear it. So.
Terry, I just would like, just a real quick, this is Debbie, real quick poll of how many of us are now going to Google the front of a Jeep, because I need to see that. So thank you for planting that in my brain.
Yeah, and it's been consistent for many years. So they actually started, the first Jeep that was in production was called the CJ. And the reason they called it the CJ model is because it was the civilian Jeep.
Okay.
So we could personally buy the vehicle ourselves. So I always wondered, the next model was YJ. So I wonder if that's your Jeep, you know, but I'm not sure.
Hey, Terry, did you know that Hummer sued, or Jeep sued Hummer because their grill was too much alike of Jeeps?
I did not.
Yeah.
Actually, my uncle
made Hummer probably had to change the number of slots in their Jeep in their grill.
Yeah, that probably backfired on him a little bit there. So,
yeah.
But my uncle was actually a certified tech for Hummer out in South Bend when they were there, and he used to work on Arnold Schwarzenegger's Hummer out there. So every once in a while, I was probably about 10 years old at the time, and he would bring the Hummers that he was working on out to pick me up and take me to school and stuff. And I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world, being in a Hummer. So,
anybody else got anything for good of the order? Pretty quiet. All right, Terry. Well, thank you very much for putting that on. And again, Michelle, thank you for your talk today. I really appreciate it. And I hope you always all have a nice week, and we'll see you again next week.
All right. See you all.
Bye.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye, thanks.